Hello, hello, and welcome to the True Faith Transfer Show with me, Adam. It's official, Newcastle United have signed Nabil Bentaleb on loan from Schalke in Germany, straight from the Bundesliga. He's a central midfielder who we might remember from such clubs as Tottenham Hotspur, where he kind of rose through the ranks as an academy player, very promising there, before being signed by Schalke a few seasons later, being sold by Pochettino for about £17 million in the end. It's come a bit out of the blue, this. It's a sort of a bit left field, but it's been increasingly evident that our midfield can easily get overrun, whichever kind of combinations we're playing. He's an experienced international who, as I said, knows the Premier League, and I think he'll be able to work between the lines a lot more. At the minute, and what we found increasingly at the start of the season in particular, was that there was just the forward line just seemed to be completely isolated from the midfield, from the rest of the team. You saw when we started playing a 5-3-2 with two up top, Almiron dropped deep, and he was able to pick the ball up from deeper positions and run with the ball towards between the opposition's midfield and defence. I think as much as Bentaleb isn't as quick or skillful as that, he could certainly operate between those lines, carrying the ball, not quite to the extent that Diarmi would do so. I mean, he's a very different frame to Diarmi, but I think what Bentaleb brings, or what can bring, is a bit of tenacity and a bit of bite, and I guess a bit of nastiness. I think I love this team that we have in terms of their character. They're all fighting for each other. They all seem to get along well. But I think sometimes that manifests into a team that, as we've seen a few times this season, can just get rolled over because we completely lose that midfield battle. And, Hayden has a bit of a bite sometimes. And Matty Longstaff in particular has shown that he has a bit of that tenacity. But the difference with Bentaleb is the fact that he is an established player who is 25. He's played in 2 of the top 5 leagues in Europe. Obviously, there are questions about his temperament and his attitude. This has been highlighted significantly over the last 24 hours. He's fallen out with David Wagner there. But then we've got to look at the players like Patton Ben Arfa and even Sam Maximan, who had fallen out with Patrick Vieira at Nice before he arrived. We kind of have to take this one at face value, and if one of the reasons that he was angling for a move out of Schalke, for whatever reason, there's been a few disciplinary issues, I believe, is to return to the Premier League, then he's got what he wanted. And actually what we've got, and we've potentially got for very, very low risk, is a player who wants to prove himself. He has something to prove, and he's going to have to bust his arse off in the next half season to win a contract at Newcastle United, to endear himself to the fans, to endear himself to Steve Bruce. And what it will provide, Key will be moved on. We've already been told that by Steve Bruce himself. Henri Save as well. Key will be moved on, who's obviously a registered player that we have at the minute, and Bentaleb will fill in that gap. Now I wonder, and as much as we're using Matty Longstaff a lot of people now saying, well, we're oversubscribed in midfield. I wonder whether there's the smallest possibility that Matty Longstaff might be loaned out to a championship club for the rest of the season, to give him game time, to give him 90 minutes every single week, sometimes twice a week, which is exactly what he needs, game time. At the minute, we're utilising him because we don't have anybody else that Bruce fancies, and obviously he's a huge, immense talent, and he's bagged a few goals. And I'm not by any stretch suggesting that Matty Longstaff should just be like palmed out the club and whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to think ahead here, and I'm trying to think now, if we've got Sean Longstaff, Hayden, Shelvey, and now Bentaleb, does that give us enough options to be able to afford to allow Matty Longstaff to go out on loan and to further his development, to see how he fares in the Championship every week between now and the summer? And if that happens, then maybe we've got a much better player in Matty Longstaff by the end of this season, rather than if he was to get even fewer opportunities now with Bentaleb, who is a very much being bought for the first team and to start games, and he will start games a lot. Maybe not at first, but certainly once he's integrated. And integration is going to be a key thing as well, because again, he knows the league. He speaks fluent English, obviously, because he spent many years here. And he, like I say, he's a player who classes as homegrown as well. So in terms of the future, if this loan deal was to work out, which I believe we're paying about 850,000 for, and paying his wages as well, which possibly around 70, 80 grand a week. If we were to buy him for 8.5 million, it seems to be a very similar deal to the Willems deal, although unfortunately that's gone a bit complex with his, being out for the season now, and we'll have to see how that one turns out in the summer, whether we indeed go back in for him or whether we just don't want to take the risk on that knee. But back to Bentaleb, looking further ahead, in a post-Brexit world, we're going to need homegrown players. It's going to be a lot more difficult to just bring in foreign talent without there being good reason for it. So the fact that he's classed as homegrown, that he was trained in the nation of England, that's a bonus in terms of how much flexibility and manoeuvrability we have with our squad, and in terms of squad registrations as well. So that's a key as well. And yeah, obviously he seems to be a player who is quite versatile. He has scored a few goals for Schalke in the last few seasons. He's got a few assists as well. He's not an out-and-out number 10 attacking midfielder, but I think he has experience and versatility working across different midfield setups and systems. And given that we've sometimes played 2, sometimes we've played 3, that's, again, he should be able to seamlessly fit into those systems. And I'd like to see him kind of take charge. We need people to take charge of this midfield, where in those games where we get overrun and we don't have a foothold and we're just relying on soaking up pressure, hopefully he's a player who can improve our possession, add some composure. And as I said before, like this bit of bite, this nastiness, this tenacity in the centre of the park, that's going to make us just slightly more difficult to beat, particularly in away games. So I'm excited for this. I think it's a low risk, exciting signing. If he knacks it up, if his attitude and application are just lacking, we say goodbye to him in the summer, and it's 5-6 months that we can that we look back on with regret potentially. But if it does work out and he busts his arse to try and win a contract here, and he shows that he cares for the club and that he wants a career in the Premier League, and shows that he has the discipline to do that, then it's an £8.5 million signing. That's a good deal for me. That's genuinely a good deal. People are writing him off already. Give him a chance. He's definitely going to improve the quality of our midfield. Gives us more options. And, he can help sort of give us a strong finish to this season, where we're doing pretty well already. Let's try and push for top half finish. Let's see how far we can go. We obviously need other signings as well. Let's hope there's more True Faith transfer shows to come with me, Adam. But for now, Nabil Bentaleb's in for the rest of the season. Let's hope it goes well. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.